Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Marky Picks. And today I got another prize pick slip for you, plus some game picks for today's packed NBA slate. Real quick before we get into today's video, guys, if you wouldn't mind, take a second and drop a like on this video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I post daily free picks every single day covering a variety of sports, and it really helps me out a ton, and I really do appreciate all of the support on these videos. Quick recap on yesterday's prize pick slip. Debut of the NBA was back in action. We went 3 out of 5 on the main slip, and I went uh, 2-1 on the game picks. We should have been 3-0 on the game picks. That overtime game, we had the under in the Thunder and Rockets game, and it went to overtime. It was a comfortable under until it went to overtime, and it eventually went over, which ended the perfect 3-0 for the game picks. But still had those solid picks there. On the prize pick slip, though, Maverick McIver was a do not play. He didn't play this game. He got scratched like 30 minutes before kickoff. Didn't know that he was injured, but apparently he was on his throwing shoulder, I guess, was the issue. So no harm done there. Christian Moss, he only had like 2 catches in this game, but one was for 70 yards, and that was well enough for the over here, like I thought would happen. Although I thought he would get more volume, I was expecting him to get at least 4 or 5 catches. He only got 2, but at least one of them was a big, deep threat bomb. So catch the over there. Reed Shepard, another one, was really close. Again, I didn't think the steal and block upside was going to be there, and he ended up getting, a steal and a block. So that's 6 points right there. That we really shouldn't have been there. Even the one block that he got really shouldn't have been there. We would have still cashed. This is one I was really high on, but again, just didn't pan out. To get more data through this NBA season, these projections will get stronger. So I was just going based off basically last year's data and a little bit of a couple more tweaks to these projections. But these projections will get stronger as the season goes on. So keep on tailing these picks. Jonathan Kuminga smashed the over here. I just really liked his spot here, and I think he was going to have a big role in this Warriors offense, and he definitely did in this game. He was doing everything. He was scoring. He was getting rebounds. He was getting stats, steals, and blocks. Exactly what I thought would happen, and I thought this line was still way too low in this spot for him. And Jake LaRavia didn't slip up. He didn't get it. I don't think he got enough minutes. I was expecting him to get a little bit more minutes than he actually got. He didn't really do anything in that first half, but he finally came alive there in that, late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. He was starting to get some points and some assists, some rebounds. They just didn't extend his role at all. I was expecting him to be a little bit of a better, option for the Lakers, because I think he's a guy that can definitely help them. He can stretch the floor, and he's a very good, defender at times. And he just didn't get enough playing time in this to get this line, which was a shame. But once we get more data, these projections will get better. My picks will get better. So I think we got some good picks here today for the NBA slate. It was a packed slate of games, so there's lots of options today, and these are my 6 top favorite ones. But I also will talk over a couple other pivots you can take on these picks, so make sure you listen to the full analysis on these picks. So without further ado, let's jump into the first pick of the day. We're jumping off with DeAndre Hunter over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. My projection is at 23.9. Cavs taking on the Knicks here should be a really great game. It's a 1.5 spread right now for the Cavs, but I think earlier in the week it was like Knicks were favored by like a couple points. So the spread's been flip-flopping. This should be a game that stays competitive throughout the whole entire way, and I think this is going to be a pretty fast-paced game as well. Both of these teams do like to play some good defense, but they also, they take some quick shots every now and then, and that leads to more opportunities. Also for the Cavs, Max Strus and Darius Garland are both out. So with those two guys out of the equation, really the top scoring options on his team are, of course, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter is going to have to be that, that third weapon that's, out there scoring points. And I really do like his chances to score points in this matchup. It's not the best matchup because the Knicks do have a lot of great defensive wings, like, Anunoby and Michael Bridges. So, I mean, one of them's going to be on Hunter. So, it could make things difficult, but I think Donovan Mitchell can use some of his playmaking skills because Mitchell's going to have to run point guard in this game. And I think, the Knicks try to force the ball out of his hands a little bit, and Hunter's going to have to make some shots for the Cavs to be successful in this game. Him and Mobley both got to be able to, score points. And I just think this line's a little bit too low for this spot. So I think this line does have a chance to jump. So taking advantage of it right now while we can. Again, great start of this slip. Really love the spot here. Jumping to pick number 2, we got RJ Barrett over 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I got him at 34.62. I really love this spot for RJ Barrett. Yeah, this is a great environment here. It's the Raptors and the Hawks. I think the total is like the highest total on the slate, or it's the second highest. I just really love this spot. I think it's going to be, very fast-paced game, and this line just feels way too low for RJ Barrett here. It's a great matchup, like I already said. But this is the first time we get to see that this Raptors team fully healthy. They got Brandon Ingram now back in there, so we should see the full big three on this team. Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and RJ Barrett. That they're kind of building around those three players right now and trying to see how they can do. But RJ Barrett's really the primary ball handler on this offense, and at this line at 27.5, RJ Barrett's going to have plenty of. I think he's going to have plenty of chances to get opportunities to get some stats, get some assists, get some points. The Hawks are not a very good defensive team, and they do have Dyson Daniels on the other side. So he's a, I think he just won Defensive Player of the Year, or he finished second. He's a guy that leads the league in steals last year, I think. So he's a pretty solid defender, but I don't think it's really going to affect RJ Barrett at all here in this spot. Again, I just really like this spot. I got his projection high. I think the projection has just dropped to 27.5 just because, the guys around him, the Raptors are pretty much fully healthy. So it's going to be interesting to see how this team plays when they're all healthy. We're going to find out here in this game. So it should be a very fun, fast-paced matchup here. So really like this pick here. Jumping to pick number 3, we got Miles Turner over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We got him at 25.63. So the Bucks, they shipped out, Brook Lopez, and they brought in Miles Turner, who's a lot better than Brook Lopez is right now. So he's going to be paired alongside Giannis. So Brook Lopez, he was always a solid, big guy for the Bucks, but he's just, as he got older, he just really wasn't performing at the same level that he always was, which is understandable. And now the Bucks, they bring in a guy like Miles Turner, who's been, basically the same player as Brook Lopez, but he's a lot better. He can do a lot more than Brook Lopez can. He's a really good defender, and he can really stretch the floor. He can shoot a little bit better than Brook Lopez can as well. He also can have a little bit more playmaking skills. I think his assist upside can be there in this spot too. And of course, on the other side, I didn't even talk about the matchup yet. They're playing the Wizards. The Wizards have the worst defense in the league by far. They really can't defend anybody. I don't like their chances to defend anything here. They did, ship out some pieces, bring in some new pieces like C.J. McCollum, which could make this team a little bit better, but, I still don't like their defense. Their defense is still basically the same as last year. They're going to have to show me some improvement for me to stop fading, taking the overs on really whoever they play. I always try to shoot for an over on everybody they play, so I like Miles Turner's spot here the most, but also you can go for Giannis if you want to as well. I think Giannis has a pretty good spot to go over for a big game as well. But anyway, Miles Turner in this spot, I really like his chances. Again, matchups there. The pace should be pretty high. Just plenty of chances to rack up some stats here in this game for Miles Turner. Jumping to pick number 4, though, we got Ja Morant, under 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We got him at 35.09. So this is I think this is actually the highest total on this slate. I think this is 237.5. I got the Grizzlies and the Pelicans, two teams that are really, trying to find their identity. Ja Morant, we're trying to see if he could play a full season without any drama going on with him. But in this spot, I know this spot looks good on paper, but, running numbers, I think his number's a little bit too high for a guy like Ja Morant. The scoring upside, could be there. Again, this matchup does look good on paper, but I I think his number is just a little bit too high in my opinion, and that's why I'm targeting the under. But this is definitely the riskiest pick of the slip because of this being such a high total. Again, the matchup's pretty solid, but I just don't like his scoring ability in this game specifically. I do think he gets a lot of assists, but in terms of points and scoring, I don't think it's going to be as high as as you would think with this game being so high. So, again, run it. This is probably the riskiest pick of the slip. So if you're only tailing a couple of these, I would probably leave this one on the side unless you feel confident in it. I do feel pretty confident in it hitting, but taking it under on a guy like John Morant's never a fun thing to do. But sometimes you got to make the uncomfortable decisions to be successful, and that's what I'm doing here. So jumping to pick number 5, we got Deni Avdija under 32 points, rebounds, and assists. We got him at 29.39. So Deni Avdija is supposed to be like the guy for the Trailblazers now, but I think this line is a little bit too high for him as well. This is a very tough spot as well. I do not like this spot. They're playing the Timberwolves here. Should be a pretty competitive game as well. But the Timberwolves defense is very good. They have very good defense. They could definitely make scoring on Avdija very tough. I do think the rebounds and assists upside could be there for Avdija in this spot. But in terms of points, I don't think the points is going to be very easy for him to score. Avdija is not really a guy that can create his own shot. I think when he does that, he's not at his best. But he's a capable, very solid little NBA player he's turning into after getting traded from the Wizards. But in this spot here, I think it's just a very tough matchup for him, and the pace shouldn't be too crazy. I think the pace should be a little bit lower, actually. So this game can definitely play a little bit slower than what people think it will. But I just think his number is a little bit too high. I know Deni Avdija, I think a lot of people are expecting him to be the guy this year. I think he has a solid year, but he's got to prove it to me that he's actually that guy. So taking the under until he proves me wrong. So last pick of this slip here, we're going with DeMar DeRozan under 31 points, rebounds, and assists. We got him at 29.30. So you got the Kings taking on the Suns here. This should be a pretty interesting kind of game here. The Suns are now without Kevin Durant. They got a pretty different kind of team. They're also without Bradley Beal as well. So now it's the Devin Booker show once again. I think Booker is going to be one of the top players in the NBA this year. I think Booker has a chance to, have a lot of high-scoring games. So it's really Devin Booker's show on the Suns side of things. But in this spot here, DeMar DeRozan, I really don't like this matchup for him either, because I know they are without Sabonis, so that could open up him getting more chances for rebounds on offense and defense. So the rebound upside could definitely be there for DeRozan in this spot. But in terms of scoring, this is another spot where I think it's going to play a little bit slower. And the Suns, I don't think want to play a fast-paced, brand of basketball. They very much could, though. I really don't know how to gauge the Suns this year so far, because they're without Beal and Durant, so I don't know if they want to play fast-paced. They could, because they got some youngsters. They could definitely run up and down the court. Booker is definitely capable of doing that as well. Or they could play a little bit slower, and just run the offense, half-court set a little bit more. But DeMar DeRozan, he's a little bit older now. He doesn't have the same, he's not in his prime anymore by any means. This line just feels a little bit too high. I like Zach LaVine a little bit more in this spot for an over. If you want to take an over in this game, I'll take Zach LaVine. But that's it for today's PrizePicks main slip. Here are my game picks for today. Starting off, we got Cavs and Knicks over 228.5. Like I said, I took DeAndre Hunter over his PRA. So I'm combining that with the game pick here. So I just really like this spot. I think both these teams can definitely score points. Again, the Cavs are without Darius Garland and Max Strus. So that's two guys that are pretty solid. So they're going to have to play some defense. They do have some defenders, of course. Mobley just won Defensive Player of the Year. So the Knicks, they have tons of defensive wings. So I would say it's probably a risky pick, but I think there's enough scoring opportunities here for both teams to be successful. And then I'm taking the Hornets minus 4.5. I mean, this is a Hornets team that I really do think is going to have a very solid season this year. Taking on the Nets in this spot. The Nets, I'm thinking they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They don't really have anybody that is, like like wows you. I mean, they just got Michael Porter Jr. in the offseason, and Cam Thomas. He can definitely score points with the best of them. Um, but outside of that, they drafted that Igor Demon guy. Don't know how he's going to pan out. There's a lot of questions around this Nets team. But I think the Nets might be one of the worst teams in the league. And the Hornets, as long as they can stay healthy with that big three that they have, with Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and LaMelo Ball, if those three can stay healthy, this Hornets team is going to it's going to probably shock and upset some teams in this season because they're definitely a pretty solid little core. They're pretty fun to watch as well when those three are playing together. But when they're not playing together, they're terrible. But they all should be playing in this game, and getting this at 4.5 just feels like a pretty good value play here as well. So I think the Hornets definitely win this game by more than 4.5 points. So good pick there. 76ers money line, similar to the Hornets. They got their big. Well, I'm gonna say that they got everybody back because Paul George is out for this game, but they got Embiid back, who's supposed to be pretty healthy this year, and they got Tyrese Maxey as well. And they're playing a Celtics team that also has a lot of question marks without Jason Tatum in the mix, and they just shipped out Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. So they brought in Anthony Simons. So we don't really know what's going to happen with this Celtics team. I mean, they still got the core with Jaylen Brown, who should be, the go-to option on this offense. But they got Derek White as well and Peyton Pritchard, who's going to have to step up in a bigger role this year with Tatum being out. So I mean, there's a lot of question marks on this Celtics side. I don't know how they're going to look, and who's going to guard Embiid in this game. That's what I'm trying to figure out because you got Neemias Queta on their center. I'm guessing is going to be the starting center. Do we really think he's going to be able to keep up with Embiid today? I don't think so. I think the 76ers have a very solid showing here, and they get the dub here against the Celtics, which is always usually a close game anyway. When these two teams play, it's always coming down to the wire, and that's why the spread's like 1.5. So very close, but I do like the 76ers here. And the Pistons and Bulls under 233.5. Not really much for me to say here. I don't really have much analysis. I just think this line's a little bit too high. The Pistons, they're kind of a defensive team, and the Bulls, they're kind of an interesting kind of team as well with some new pieces. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams play. I'm just taking under 233.5 just to see how it goes. Pelicans and Grizzlies under 237.5. I'm pairing this with the Ja Morant under. So I think this game does play pretty fast though, but I think the scoring opportunities might be a little bit limited. I think these teams do miss some shots. I think they're a little bit rusty. So that's the angle we're playing here. So looks like a very solid little group of picks. So those are my picks for today. That's the video in total. If you guys enjoyed it, once again, smash the like and subscribe button if you're not already. It really helps me out a ton. I really do appreciate it. Appreciate all these supports. And also, let me know down in the comments, some of y'all's favorite plays on the day. I really like to hear what you guys are playing as well. And also, if you have any critiques on my picks today, I would like to hear what you guys are thinking and why you don't like my picks. Or if you're tailing, if you liked some of these picks. So, yeah, that's it for today's video. Tomorrow should be Thursday, so we got football and some NBA, so plenty of stuff to bet on tomorrow. I think some college football as well. So stick around for that. Don't miss out. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.